In every generation, a rare few rise, not just to lead companies, but to shape entire industries. Not just teams, but movements. Welcome to the League of Extraordinary Leaders East Africa, where vision meets courage and strategy sparks transformation. Hosted by Uganda's leading business journalist, Muhereza Kyamutetera. This is your front row seat to the minds reshaping the future of African business.
Okay, hello everybody, hello viewers, hello listeners, depending on what platforms you're using. Welcome back to yet another edition of the LXL East Africa. That's the League of Extraordinary Leaders East Africa, where we as a CEO East Africa magazine get to talk to some of the leaders in our region, some of the leaders who have done some of the greatest things behind some of the greatest companies that have been leading the show in our story of development. And this is where we get to learn, to hear from them, their experiences, in the hope that we get to shape the experiences of the present and the future leaders, as together we build our region to become one of the greatest regions. With us today is a gentleman. I love to think of him as headmaster because he was one time my headmaster before I dropped out of school. Yeah, but he runs the Mat Abacus Business School. So if you've done an MBA, the chances are high that you've been at his school. And he'll get to tell us about that. But I also know him, he has been on a number of boards. Either he's been on the board of one of the biggest banks that keeps your money, or one of the largest insurers, one of the leading business dailies, and a couple of other entities, as he'll tell us. And what brings us here today is to pick some wisdom from him around governance. I know he's a fan of good governance. To also pick from him a bit of lessons and tips about, of course, leadership and many other things, of course, like they say in our African wisdom, that meaning that greatest things can only be discussed by those who have ever seen them or experienced them. Mm-hmm. And I think the equivalent of that in English is wisdom or experience is the best teacher, right? Great. Right. So welcome, Professor Samuel Sejjaaka. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Great.
It's such a delight.
Awesome. So let's start from where it all started. Before you came to Kampala, before we started seeing you, where were you and what were you up to? Where did it all start?
I think I've always lived in Kampala. But
Okay.
I was born in Mulago Hospital.
Okay.
But my parents happened to live in Entebbe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started my education.
Okay.
In a school called Lake Victoria Primary School.
Mm-hmm.
From Lake Victoria Primary School, of course, I went to King's College Budo, mm-hmm. and then to Makerere University.
Okay.
So to the best of my recollection, I've always lived around the city. So I just didn't come to the city.
Okay.
I've always been part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, interesting, for some of us who just came to the city when we were, you know, for the record, I went to Nambiyango College.
Right.
We didn't really like Budo people, but now we are here because of occupational hazards. Yeah, but it's good that, and I mean, for some of us, we came from very far away, right. But what matters most is that we are all here. So let's talk about very quick about your, you know, your growing up from your childhood, your, you know, what do you think when you look back, what do you think has greatly influenced you into being the person that you are today?
First of all, there's a number of things.
Mm-hmm.
When I started out as a student going to school, mm-hmm. of course, this country was largely run by Europeans and Indians. Mm-hmm. So I remember going to Lake Victoria Primary School. The headmaster was a white. A number of the teachers were white. Mm-hmm. But shortly after that, we had the coup mm-hmm. of 1971. Mm-hmm. And things started changing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the right word is things started going south, but mm-hmm. That was the Amin coup. Mm-hmm. And the Europeans started leaving. Mm-hmm. Some of the Indians persisted, mm-hmm. but they also eventually left in 1972 when Amin made a decree mm-hmm. that these people should live. So I guess that shaped me a lot in the sense that before the coup and before the expulsion of the Asians, we didn't know what scarcity meant in Uganda. But after the expulsion of the Indians who ran the trade system, we started experiencing economic hardship. Inflation, so my father's salary was never enough. And my mother had to come in and also do some menial work to keep the family together. And incidentally, part of that menial work included us also going to find a patch of land to grow some food for ourselves. So I think that's when really you begin to see the things that changed. To the best of my recollection, the things that changed our country. Of course, this is an ongoing debate that who should control the commanding heights of our economy. And a lot of times, even now, we're having an election, and maybe a bit of those issues are about control of the economy. But this is an issue that has been here from the time of Obote. If you recall the National pronouncements of 1969, when we had the Common Man's Charter. The young people don't know these things. But those were difficult times. And the question has always been, how do you create emancipation for the African so the African can participate in the economy? Unfortunately, all the best efforts for me seem to result in a situation where there's more and more loss of control of the Africans, of the economy. And that, don't misunderstand me, the economy is growing, right? But the bigger portion of the cake is still not in the hands of the Africans. So I think those were the tumultuous moments when Amin came and they announced his economic war, expelled the Asians, created scarcity, and a lot of things changed. So I think for me that is a turning point. I was a young man, but suddenly we had to scrounge, to look for food, to queue for sugar. If you tell the young people today about queuing for sugar, they'll be surprised. To queue for soap. If you wanted to drink soda, you had to get a cheat from a minister. So life changed in very fundamental ways. But there we are. Yeah.
And later on, maybe, of course, a couple of governments changed until we had one government that seems to have persisted for some time. Have things changed, and how that impacted you? And of course, relatedly, you mentioned you are in Budo, and Budonians prefer to think of themselves as some sort of some. When you hear them talk about themselves, they think of themselves as some bit of subculture. You know, has that affected the way you look at and do things?
Yes and no. First of all, I think the realities of the 70s shaped us in more than one way, in the sense that they made us more resilient, gave us the ability to fend for ourselves. So I think that wouldn't have affected me. But I think going to Budo was special because Budo was associated with royalty, and not just the royalty in Buganda, but the royalty in this country. So if you think back, you will see that the people who came to Budo included the Martin Arikas of this world, may he rest in peace, the Barijes, the Chabazingas, and all the royalty that came to Budo. So whereas we were not part of that royalty, it was great being around them, right? So Budo had that culture, and that culture was also associated with integrity. So I guess, in a sense, that culture keeps on carrying on. And the people who have gone to Budo are proud. They are proud to carry on with that culture. But all said, it is still more of a way of getting at you, teasing you. It's not intended to put you down,
Yes,
because
yes.
I think if you look at schools like Kisubi and Namiryango, where you went, they have also produced great people.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Reality is like the Kyamuteteras. Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. And of course, out there, I'm sure, and again, we do this show for our viewers and our readers. Right. You've, of course, been on a number of boards, as I've mentioned, and I'm sure you are not yet done. There's still probably a couple of others that are coming. But someone, and I've seen a lot of people, there's a great push, when you see online, and everybody seems to be wanting to position themselves to be on the board,
Yeah.
Looking at your own examples and the lessons you picked along the way, people must be wondering, how do you kwetega, like people like say, how do you position yourself to be on these boards, and most importantly, because the boards you've been on are some of the most prominent organizations that run our economy. How do you do it?
I don't. I like the word kwetega. Unfortunately, I don't think I have done that myself. But my first big board was Stanbic board, and it's very interesting how leadership works. If you volunteer yourself, and that time I remember, the chief executive of Stanbic was a gentleman called Kitili Mbafi.
I remember him.
So Kitili Mbafi and I used to run on the hash. Okay, and at one point I became the hash master, which was a voluntary position. So one day he said to me, "Why don't you join our board? I think you are a reasonable person. You are fairly knowledgeable, and as an accountant, we could use a person like you." So that's how I got onto that board. I guess the rest from there is history. But also one of the things throughout my board career is maybe I'm a bit outspoken. Some people like me, many don't like me, which is quite fine. Actually, if everybody likes you, you have a big problem.
Yes.
Not everybody should like you. So, yes, some of the boards were hard, like UDB. I managed to get into the board of UDB because of former Minister Maria Kiwanuka. I had also been with her on the board of Stanbic, and they had a problem at UDB. So she said, "Sam, I know you're a tough cookie. Can you come and help us?" But it was really hard turning that company around. There was a lot of trouble there, and there were a lot of stakeholders whom we didn't understand how to manage. But yeah, we pulled through, and I'm proud. I think Stanbic was a money-making machine. UDB was a failing, was a sinking boat. So I'm proud that we turned UDB around. And my predecessors, my successors. Unfortunately, again, here we go. All my successors have been Bodonians. Have managed to do a sterling job at UDB. So UDB is on the rise. One of the challenges at UDB really was conceptualization. If I recall my economics properly, UDB is not supposed to be an SME bank. UDB is supposed to be a bank for infrastructure, for socioeconomic transformation of this country. But we found ourselves stuck in a lot of those small things, like giving loans to small ginaries and all these small things, because we didn't have the resources. So it was quite a challenge, and it remains a challenge, because if you want to build the SGR, you should go to UDB. If you want to build a dam, you should go to your UDB. So I don't think we are there yet. But definitely we have made big strides. And I am proud having been there. It was not always plain sailing, I must admit.
And having been both on government and private sector boards, is there any stark differences, and having been on both, what would be some of the lessons learned that probably you need to give someone joining any of the two in terms of how to manage?
I think government bodies are more complicated in the sense that you have to deal with very many stakeholders whose needs or wants are not clear. Sometimes they want jobs just for the sake of jobs for their relatives. Sometimes they want influence in those organizations. So I think being on government boards can be a bit more problematic. Yes, you also have stakeholders in private companies, but the bottom line is if your financial performance is good, the other things are easier to manage. So yes, there's a difficulty. And I think, speaking of boards, I was the chairman of the Petroleum Fund for 6 years. And for 6 years we did nothing. We sat in meetings. We dreamt about how great how great it would be to turn around this country using the black gold. And we agreed on so many things, but the implementation never materialized. Actually, we have a record for collecting more than 1 trillion shillings and not investing even 1 shilling. and I think for me, that was so unfortunate that we didn't share that vision with the colleagues I worked with in the Ministry of Finance, because I argued for a sovereign fund, that we should set up a sovereign fund for this country, like other countries have done, Qatar, Norway, and so forth. And we should be patient. Some people argued that this was not really the oil money, so they could use it for other things. I don't know which those other things are, but I felt that some of the colleagues who worked with on this project didn't have a long-term view of where Uganda should be going. I also felt that expediency was more important than having a long-term view. So these are some of the things we grappled with being in leadership in government boards. When you turn that round and look at private companies, I mean, the bottom line is people want you to make a profit for them. So apart from now things like sustainability, which are coming in, care for the climate management and so forth, the variables are more manageable and understandable.
Okay. And then when you, and this is a bit related to what we discussed a bit earlier, I'm sure as part of being on the board, you've also been involved in searching for other board members to join some of the boards that you've been on. Are there any specific things you'd be looking for? Maybe is it competency, is it integrity, is it how? Because I'm just trying to help someone out there who's trying to, because okay, maybe they've done all the the MBAs, they've done everything,
right.
and they are thinking of how do I
get onto a board?
Yes.
Right. I think all those things you have mentioned are important. Integrity is important. Abilities are important, skills. These days we have quite a number of skills we talk about. Accounting, ICT, and all those other skills that you can think of that one would take to a board. Even we think about diversity these days. But I think the best people you want to be on your board are people who show leadership. And as I intimated to you, it's never going to be plain sailing. But I know people whom I have seen on boards, and they seem to fit the bill. They talk nicely. They say they are yes people, but they don't further the objectives of those organizations because they want to be nice to everybody. And I found that is a very dangerous trait because even when the ship is sinking, those people will still try and cover up things. So you really need to look for people who have, what is the word I want? I'm looking for the right word. People who have the gumption to speak up. People who will say that things shouldn't be like this. Can we change? So yes, a lot of people are getting onto the boards. I think it's become a bit fashionable to want to be on a board because of course there are allowances, there's travel, there are other perks. But I think if I were to pick people for a board, I want people who will tell me this is right and this is wrong. These days we have too many people who say everything is right. I think that is the Chisoga thing. Omami Chakoba, Zena Chenkova. Yeah, so there's maybe it's becoming a national disease. Everybody wants to be seen to be politically correct. But is that the best for our country? Is that the best for our businesses? I don't know.
Okay, and from what you said that, there's this joke that you have the freedom to talk, but I can't guarantee your freedoms after
you have talked, yes.
How do you...
Attributed to Amin.
Yeah. From your experience, how do you balance between, because you also want to, and there's somebody who said that, you see, the reason why politicians lie is that sometimes before you get to implement the things that you want to do, you first have to get to power. So how do you make sure that as you speak your mind, as you speak it as it is or as it should be, you also have to balance and make sure that you don't rattle the powers that be, because you could easily have your term not renewed or suspended like we've seen in government. How do you advise in terms of being able to speak up, but also and remain understood or not to be misunderstood as be in the opposition, as they like to say?
I'll tell you some things which I think are important. One, you must have courage, and courage means you don't do the good things, you do the right things. And what are the right things? The right things are those things which, if you had a chance to do them again tomorrow, you would still do those things. That's when you know you have the courage. But the second thing, of course, as you mature, you mellow, but you also learn to have emotional intelligence. So a good board member must have emotional intelligence. So where they had matters, had subjects, had topics which you have to deal with, sometimes you have to caucus with your chair and other board members so that there is a buy-in, okay? So you don't just go into the boardroom like an elephant in a china shop and start breaking all the ceramic. So you have to find a way to communicate your message, firmly but strongly. There are things you might believe in. So how do you communicate them? So I guess that is where then your emotional intelligence comes in, which is your self-awareness and awareness of others. Yes.
So by focusing, you mean first being no offside? You first align.
You explain why things should not be the way you think they are going. Okay, and you give your reasons. Yeah, but sometimes people will not accept what you're saying. Then if you really feel strongly, then you can bring it up in the board. Then you can also do what? You can also leave the board. Nobody forces you to be on a board. Unfortunately, I've not had a situation where I've had to leave a board like that. But I feel that it is better to support your chairman or your colleagues to do the right thing. I'll give you an example. We had this board, I will not name it, and one of the cultures we developed was travel, because travel was business class. So the board members loved traveling, and the EXCO also learned to love traveling.
Yeah.
So when the EXCO learned how to travel also, they also traveled in business class. Then the management also learned how to travel, to go for training, to go for all those things. But in essence, what was happening is we were pilfering the bottom line. Okay, and this is a problem I see a lot with multinationals, by the way, that there's so much travel, there's so much expenditure, which is not necessarily adding value to the shareholders. So what do you do in such a circumstance? If you tell your colleagues that, look, we need to manage this thing, you're going to create enemies. Because maybe that's how some of them survive. So what do you do? And that's where the issue of now emotional intelligence comes in. Saying, how do we strike a compromise on some of these things? So a lot of these things involve compromise. So yes, you've had such situations. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Other times, look, being on boards is also some kind of old, now the girls are in old boys and old girls network. So people will say, who do you want to be on the board? Oh, I know Chamo, why don't you put him on the board? But having been put on these boards, I think we still have a duty to ensure that we protect shareholder value, that we do the right thing, that we ought to do. Of course, now you also know that we have changes in the law. You have judicial responsibility. And if you don't fulfill your fiduciary responsibility, the University of Understanding is at the other side of the is at the other side of the lake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And chairing, I mean, being a chair, what have you learned about chairing, boards, especially during difficult moments? Well, how do you guide a board chair who is chairing through difficult moments or difficult times? Or sometimes, especially like in government, you find sometimes there's maybe there's a minister, then there are other powers that be, and sometimes they even have counter interest to the minister. Basically, there's so many stakeholders. How do you steer through that kind of storm?
I mean, there's no script for that. Again, you have to lead by intuition. Okay, you must be able to read the situation. You must be able to understand the facts. And then one of the problems I found is people try to follow the rule book, but in some of the situations, the rule book doesn't apply. The bureaucratic rule book doesn't apply. So how do you satisfy? How do you create a situation whereby those who feel that things should be a bit different have a win, and those things think another way should also have a win. So how do you create a win-win situation? That's why I talked about compromise. That's why I talked about discussions, caucusing with other people, and explaining the implications of the different situations. It's never easy. It's never easy because, look, human beings are human beings. I think somebody said, if you want to know the true character of a person, you give them one of two things. Either you give them money or you give them power. Okay, then you will really know. You will really know who Sejjaaka is, or who Chamo is. And we've seen that in motion, isn't it? So sometimes you'll never know how things are going to pan out. But always, I guess, one must think about a legacy. That under the circumstances, is it better for me to have a one-off or create a legacy? And I think people who have built their countries have had to have some kind of selflessness. So if you are in charge of a national asset, if you are in charge of a big company, that's when your leadership acumen should come to the top, that I'm doing this for posterity. And that does not mean I should not be well off because I'm doing this. But there's only so much that you can enjoy. I mean, you just heard the other day, I told you I grew up in Entebbe. And how does somebody come and say, Mr. XYZ, you can have 150 acres of this? How do they even start thinking like that? Isn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, some of these things, I am not in that space now, but they puzzle me. How do they happen? Because am I thinking about myself, or am I thinking about the country? Am I thinking about my children? Am I thinking about the environment? So how did they arrive at that kind of decision? So those are the things that challenge us as leaders. Now, I am not saying I am better than those people who made that decision. But one must understand, how did they arrive at that decision? And these are the questions that challenge us as leaders. I don't have the right answers, but to each his own. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I remember what Minister Mao used to say. I mean, the old Mao, not the new one. That
yes.
A thief who has had not an opportunity to steal yet prefers to think of themselves as good people.
As good people.
It's until you actually have an opportunity to steal and you actually don't steal that you can actually start
to speak. Exactly. And that's what I've said by saying that, look, you can't know a man's character until you expose them to power and money. So there's no sense in which I want to imply that I'm better than Mao or anybody else. I am simply saying I think nations are built through sacrifice. Okay? Nations are built through sacrifice. I've just been thinking about the late Raila Odinga and the kinds of compromises he's had to make. He is a man who could have caused a lot of trouble for his country. But by not being president, he still practiced a lot of leadership to try and keep that country together. So even for us, these are people we can look at and say these are examples of what we ought to do. What should we do for our country, Uganda? Okay? And definitely we have a lot of problems. But if as leaders we only think about ourselves, then we have a problem. And I guess that's the ultimate test of leadership. Okay?
And as an old man who has been there, as a teacher who has taught people in class, I'm sure you've had a chance to see people grow and transition from university. You've participated in putting some of them into organizations and sat with them in boards. And I'm sure when you reflect back, probably this has taught you a few things about people. Are there some lessons you'd say, from all this experience, these are some of the theories I've dropped about people? I mean, and of course, one of them you just shared, that you never really know about people until they have access to, to resources and power. Are there any other life lessons you've learned about us human beings?
There's a gentleman, he wrote a book called Same as Ever. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
No.
Same as Ever. I would recommend that book to everybody who wants to be in leadership to it. This gentleman is called Morgan Housel. I think he also wrote The Psychology of Money.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So what he says in this book, which I read it now, I think is a philosophy I adopt, is human beings have emotions. Human beings have feelings. Now, regardless of the level of development, We could have gone to the moon. We could have invented chips. We could have invented wireless phones. Those primordial feelings remained the same. Greed, avarice, and whatever. So if we want to succeed, we must understand that we all share those same emotions, okay? And the best way to deal with those same emotions is to have a system of control. So if you don't have control, even I can run Gaga. You can run Gaga. I mean, because you are the boss, so you can choose to do anything. Yeah. Because I'm the boss here, I could choose to do anything. Then where does that leave the other people for whom I am responsible? So, but the emotions that you carry are the same I carry, are the same everybody here carries. So if you don't have defined rules of engagement, then things can always happen. And we have seen things happening. I mean, you can look at the political scenery in this country, because if, and we were just celebrating the Constitution the other day, and I was saying to myself, but you see, if we were not strict on certain things, that certain things are immutable, then anything can be changed as we wish, okay? We just had the other day also the issue about LGBT. So what is, if you stand for nothing, you fall for nothing. So what I have learned as a philosophy is that there must be some immutable rules, okay? Otherwise, libertarianism can make us do anything that we wish, okay? Otherwise, we lose self-control. And it is very possible. So I guess that is something I'm always conscious about now, that look, I am as fallible as the next guy. Yeah.
And you've been, of course, we'll be talking about board directions, and but of course the board works hand in hand with the executive, especially the CEO. From your experience, what do you think CEOs need to do to make sure they have a good working relationship with their boards?
Okay,
how can they avoid a bad one, for that matter?
I think there's two situations here. And these situations for me are a bit problematic. In the traditional company, usually you have a board, and then the board is responsible for choosing the CEO. So the question for the board should be, how good a CEO have you been able to get? Okay? Some CEOs will destroy value, others will create value. What is the maturity of the CEO? Okay? The truth is, CEOs know more about the business than the board. Okay? So as a board, you're always going to rely on the CEO. So that is the private sector scenario. Now, come to the government sector scenario. And I have tried to ask people that we need to change this. So first of all, you have the law setting up this corporation. Okay? Then you say the minister will choose a board. And then you say the minister will choose a CEO. So are you surprised that you've been having fights in some of these places? Because to whom does the CEO report? To the minister or to the board? The CEO knows who gave him the job.
Yeah.
Okay? So in effect, the board is the minister. Okay? And that's a problem we've had with a lot of these public organizations, which we need to address. I think we did when we had a bit of the privatization unit, because we changed with UDB. Because we were able to say that now we will appoint the shareholders will appoint the chairman and the board, but the board will appoint the CEO. So we managed to live comfortably under those circumstances. But in other organizations, I think you've seen it's a problem.
Yeah.
I've just seen UNBS. You see it in very many other places. So you don't know who is actually in charge. Is it the minister? Is it the CEO? But the right thing should be is that the ideal, not the right one. The ideal situation would be one where you have a mature board chair and a mature CEO, so that they work together. Because at the end of the day, you are looking for congruence, isn't it? You are looking for making the organization better. So that's how I see it. But again, as I told you, human nature is very complicated.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then maybe again, that in the case of whereby and it happens and has happened and probably it won't stop happening yet. In the case, and this is specifically for my CEO readers, so you're a CEO, you're appointed, we're assuming you are mature, but your board is somehow not aligned. Are there any specific tips you could give in terms of this is how you go about aligning your board and making sure that you fall in line?
Okay. First is communication. There must always be constant communication. Okay? So don't close off the lines. Some people will spend 6 months, they have not talked. So don't close off the lines. But the thing that I think really, and I was proud of that being on the Stanbic board, is that we were always being trained how to manage as board members. So if you are able to afford the training for your board members, to let them know what is expected of them, then that continuous learning I found was very, very useful for us. And it helped me learn a lot of things about how the board should be run, case studies of failure, case studies of success, and how you deal with difficult people and so forth. So there was a lot of training, okay? There's a lot of training. Yes, but management really is about influence. So if you can't practice influence, then you are not leading. You are not leading. So I guess you have to grow up. Was it Michelle Obama who said, when they go low, we go high? Isn't it? Something like that.
Some people say they go low, you go low.
So if you decide to go low, then if all of you decide to go low, then there will be no organization. An eye for an eye, and the world will soon be blind. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you've been in governance, leadership in various angles, and I know, are you at liberty to comment about Uganda's our 10x growth strategy? What's your feeling? Are we off the right footing, and do we have the right foundation in terms of the resources, the commitment, and are we on the right path?
It's a tough one. Look, Uganda needs the growth, right? Things I think to myself is, do we have a leadership that has the commitment to deliver those things? I am not so sure. I am not so sure because we fell in a trap as a country. We fell into a trap of what we called Western democracy, okay? And the cost of that democracy, for me, kind of negates a lot of the other things we would achieve, okay? Right now, what are we doing? There's only campaigns, okay? And are you in doubt about the results of those campaigns? you shouldn't be in doubt. So why are we spending our resources stupidly just because the Western world has told us that we must have a ballot every 5 years? That's why the Chinese are on the ascendancy. Okay, they have a central communist party with plans for the country. They have plans for the next 50 years. But look at the chaos we have. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if some of those people who want to be our presidents would qualify as a gatekeeper to Matabakas. But that is the price of democracy. Now, if our resources are diverted from that 10x growth which we need, how would we achieve it? How will we achieve it? Because the price of pacifying people, the price of keeping peace is so high, okay? But I am skeptical, maybe that's what I should say, that we can stick to the plan of 10x growth. But we need more than 10x growth, okay? Look at Uganda. Uganda is on the equator. Income per capita, we have just been told, is about $1,200 now, right? We are lower middle income, something like that. Cross on the other side in America, see a country like Colombia, okay? Colombia has had 34 presidents. It's on the equator. They produce coffee, okay? Income per capita, $8,000. Is this the problem in the soil? Or is it in the problem of leadership? So if you are going to get 10x growth, Africans must decide that this is the right form of governance, which is going to deliver 10x growth. If we cannot decide that problem, if you cannot resolve that problem, then it is always going to be a challenge. Why must we do what the white man tells us? Okay? Why don't we find our level? Why don't we find something that works for us? Okay? Well, I have more questions than answers.
Do you believe we are politically overgoverned and perhaps spending too much more resources and not putting them probably where they are needed most?
I don't know if we're even politically overgoverned. This is my theory. In the 70s and early 80s, we had a clear distinction between political leadership and civic leadership. Okay? And civic leadership was clear about what it was intended to achieve. That you have good schools, you have good health care, you have clean water, people do not dry their coffee on the ground. So you had the Mutongole, you had the Mwami, okay? And that person was appointed to provide leadership of a civic nature. When we crossed into the 80s, we had the wars and all that, civic leadership and political leadership, for me, seem to have been merged. Today you go to any village and you look at the so-called LCs, usually you find the worst drunkard is the one in charge of the village. So what leadership is that person going to deliver? So I don't even know if it's a question of being overgoverned. I think it is a question of having mixed things, okay? That you see the things of politics should have been left to politicians. So for them, they can do their things and tell their stories and get their votes and go to parliament and post. But you cannot tell me that things of health, things of education, things of infrastructure should be left in the ambit of politicians. then you cannot get what we want, okay? Because once we say we are going to do Fort Mubende Road, it should not be a political issue, because we need the road for the development. Okay, so if we put the money aside, let the road be done. Okay, let the politicians go and dance and do all the things they want to do, but the road must be done. If we're going to say we're doing standard gauge rail, it cannot be a political thing. We need these things to uplift our people. I don't know. I could also ask you, are you happy the way you see our people?
Definitely not.
And actually, there's a certain decadence that has come upon us, in the sense that we're all now not good citizens. We throw rubbish everywhere. We will what?
Drive on the pavement.
Drive on the pavement. We will void bylaws and all these other things. So yeah, we build clubs in residential areas. So what image is that? I mean, at my age, I ask about these things, but the bylaws are there. So look, I'm not saying we have not developed, but I think we have developed because the world has also developed. So regardless of the mistakes we have made, the world has moved on and it has carried us, okay? So we can use computers, we can use mobile phones, but we had nothing to do with mobile phones or their appearance, okay? So we can get a lot of the cast-off Japanese cars and so forth. It's because the world has gone into mass production. So if we use that as a yardstick to say we are better off, then we have a problem, okay? You see, growth is going to be there. In 1977, maybe we had 12 million people. Today we have 50 million people. 50 million people have to be fed. So because you're feeding 50 million people, it does not mean you have a necessarily better society. It's just that there are more amenities, there's mass production. So these things bother me, but some people don't want to listen to them. They say, oh, you are anti-government. No, I'm not anti-government. I think I want a better government. But a better government must be run by responsible people who want to uplift their people. So what is the right way to uplift our people? Maybe I also don't know.
And you're the numbers guy. When you're auditing the balance sheet of Uganda Limited, and also looking at our strategy, let's say you're the board chairperson again and you head the audit committee of Uganda Limited, and you're looking at our 10X strategy. Would you say our numbers are in the right place? And also in terms of resource allocation, are we allocating resources in the right places? Because I think last time I read an NPA, the exact report that used to be issued by NPA, where they say how aligned is our budget to the growth plans.
National,
But I think at some point they stopped reporting about those numbers because I think it kept on getting more divergent to the point where they stopped reporting about it. Would you issue a certificate, would you say the numbers are in the right place?
You see, that's a very difficult question. It's a very difficult question. One, because I am exposed to the region. I don't know who said that you shouldn't compare pygmies. but among us, the pygmies, we are one of the tallest. So that's a very difficult question. I can't say we have done badly. That would be unfair. I can only say I think we could have done a lot better. Okay, but we have not done badly. One, we are gifted by nature, so food has not been a problem. Okay. Two, the government of the day has managed to keep peace. if you really know the history of this country, I can assure you that it is a very difficult place to lead. Okay, and very many people have written about this. It's a very difficult place to lead. But kudos to the government of the day. They have managed to keep peace. But as I say, the absence of war does not mean peace. But there is no war. So the country has been pacified.
Yes.
And I think those are pluses. Okay. Other things then follow from those. Once you have kept peace, other things then follow from those. Okay. We have managed to increase the coffee production a bit, not where it should be, because I remember when I was at UDB and I was working with Operation Wealth Creation, we had said 20 million bags by 2020. I don't know if you remember that mantra. And we did give out a lot of coffee, but we didn't get there. Okay? But still we've managed to increase coffee. The Uganda shilling is one of the best performing in the region for now. So there are so many things we have achieved. But still, that doesn't mean we are where we ought to be. One, there's always the question of uncertainty. Yes, today we have a strong leader. He has managed to pacify the country. But what if something goes wrong with him? Okay? Suddenly the Uganda we pride ourselves in may not be what you think it is. For us who have been around a bit longer, we know a lot of other things that people keep quiet about. Okay? So those things should keep us away. And I think for every responsible Ugandan, the question must be, how do you manage a peaceful transition? Because peace is very important. And if you want to understand why peace is important, look to the east in the Congo, look to the north in the South Sudan, and you'll understand that I think we've paid a premium price. But all's well, we can take that. But we need to do a bit more with this peace because it can go. And one of the things that you want to do with the peace, to keep peace, is to make sure that everybody is a stakeholder. I remember driving, I had a Mercedes-Benz during the Kabaka riots. So as I was driving, somebody said, "Oh, eyo yang eyo." If you know what that means. So that is a kind of situation that you must understand, that there are national things on which we need to have a consensus. And peace is one of them, should be non-negotiable. So how do we manage a transition? How do we manage to keep this peace? Then other things will be added. But if you were to give a report card, I think on the important things we have done well. But on the things that will keep us united, we still have some way to go. Yeah.
And as we begin to wrap up, I need your quick take on, especially you in the business of education, which partly contributes to training the next, basically the talent that we need to drive this growth and leadership. And do you feel how are we doing there? And also you were, you were to be on the board of National Media Group. Is the media doing its job properly, or what's holding them back? And then for that, then after that we can talk about your parting shots.
Oof, those are very tough questions. Can you repeat them?
Okay, the first question is
yes.
From the talent space.
I think from the talent space, one, we have the children, we have a population dividend, but you see, let me use my example. I went to a public school. A public school in the Ugandan sense is a school which is paid for by the government. So that is your equivalent of UPE. Okay? So today I want to ask you, What chance does, which village did you come from, you said? Bushenyi, yes. If you went to primary school in Bushenyi and you were going there in 2025, what chance would you have to become a charm and sit here under the circumstances we have today? So that is the challenge we have in this space. That yes, we have the population, but I do not think we have invested properly in education to give every Ugandan a chance. So that's why you see that now the gap between the haves and have-nots has grown to such an extent that the haves can take their children to private schools. But for us in the 70s, the best school was the one that was given by government. So if you went to Lake Victoria, where I went, if you went to Buganda Road, it used to be called Norman Godino. If you went to Nakasero, you had gone to the best school. So you had a chance. Now, I don't know, Zanika said she comes from which place? There's a funny place you said she comes from. Kamchunchu. If a child from Kamchunchu is in the primary one, what chance in hell does that child have of becoming the president of Uganda today? So these are the challenges we have on the education side. But yes, if we can improve our investment in education, if we can also change the mentality, you see, we also did away with the vocational training, okay? And everybody wants to have a degree. Actually, I have seen people who have 5 master's degrees, so many chartered qualifications, and I'm wondering what was the whole purpose of going to school? For us, when we went to school, I thought the purpose of going to school was to learn to do critical analysis, critical thinking. And once you learned how to think, the rest was added to you. Now, I don't know if the young people go to school to think, to learn how to think. So that is a crisis we have to solve, to get back the vocational education, to make sure people have skills. But we're also moving into the 5th computer generation. So what are we teaching the skills for that generation? Okay, so these are the challenges we have. Can we get resources to skill people? I remember we had some programs where we skilled accountants, and I don't mind, even though we're exporting people, okay? But should we be exporting them as house girls or as accountants? Those are the things for me that concern me about the sector. What is the quality of the people we are producing? You ask them to write a letter, and you're shocked, okay? That's what I was telling you. People don't read, okay? So how do we emphasize that really education is the bedrock of building a solid nation? Yeah. So what was the second question?
The other question was, I think, just speak about the media industry, the way it has evolved. How do you see it as in terms of the future and also being able to remain independent and do its job?
The media is struggling, and that struggle is going to get worse and worse. First of all, the news is known before you print it, okay? 2, because the print media and all the other forms of media are short on resources, it is very easy to compromise the journalists. So you don't even know if you are taking in the truth. Are you reading the truth? Or you are reading a story because somebody paid for it? Okay? So that is a challenge. So yes, the media is going to have a lot of problems. Maybe the model we have doesn't work anymore, and it needs to be rethought. Being on the board of Nation Media allowed me to have a glimpse in how some organizations like the Financial Times and the New York Times have regenerated themselves. But you see, you cannot regenerate yourself if you don't understand that an economy is a circular thing. So if you have a small group of people who are okay and the rest are not okay, you're not creating an economy. To create an economy, everybody must have purchasing power. So then people will consume things like newspapers.
Yeah.
But now, how do you tell my grandmother, who is deceased, how would you have told her if she was alive to read the newspaper? She couldn't even afford it. Okay? So these are the kinds of things that we must fight to create equity if there are certain things that are going to remain, like the newspaper industry. Otherwise, news is consumed by the elite. Okay? Now, the rest of our people, they have been taken over by TikTok, Snapchat, and that's where they get their news from. And 90% of that is rubbish. So, yes, the newspaper industry is in crisis. Yeah.
And then maybe lastly, looking back at our entire conversation and of course from your experience, are there some of the key things said, one or two things that you wish every business leader knew, things that you also learned probably a bit at a later stage, what are those key things that you picked from your experience and your journey as a business owner, business leader, board member, and also as an elder?
I did write a book about that. One, I think the most important thing is nothing is permanent. I think that is something I've learned. When I left Makerere University, I thought I was on top of the world, but things changed so fast, and I realized I didn't count for nothing. So nothing is permanent. Change is only permanent. So how do we prepare for that change? And I don't have a question for that. Two, every good business leader cannot, a business leader cannot succeed unless his successor succeeds. Okay, so even me being here, the question that should keep me awake is who is going to take over from me? Because I must live and I must work like today is my last day always. So who is going to take over from me? And if I don't do that, then I have failed. So I cannot succeed until my successor succeeds. That is the second one. The third one, I think a lesson I've learned is there'll always be rainy days. So you must prepare for those rainy days. Whatever you think, rainy days are going to come. So how do you prepare for those rainy days and make sure that they, when they come, they don't leave you worse off. Okay, so I think those are the three things I can share with you as parting shots. But so grateful for the opportunity to speak to you.
Right, cool. Thanks a lot for your time, and hope to be back.
Thank you.
When things are better. Yeah, thank you.
Things will always get better. I don't want to be misunderstood on that. Things will always get better, but it depends the rate at which they get better. For some people, they get better much quickly. For others, it is a very slow, painful process. I'm sure you go up country and you see the travails of our people, and then you wonder that, wow, am I the same Chamu who has been in Kampala? And I'm now the one in the village looking at these people, in Kamchunchu, looking at these people, and you wonder. So we have an uphill struggle to lift our people.
All right. Thank you, viewers, for sticking with us thus far, and thank you for following all the past episodes. Please do follow us on our channels, as you know them, your best channels where you consume us. Of course, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, on Facebook, and all the other channels. Of course, on TikTok. We are learning to be on TikTok. And do share, if you find anything that's interesting, do share it with your followers. And by the way, if you're a leader out there and you believe that you have a great story to share with us, do reach out, and we can't wait to tell that story. Otherwise, see you on the next episode of LXL East Africa. I remain you as truly Kyamutetera Muhereza.